Black waitress fixed Korean Mafia. Boss's $100 million problem in seconds. Next day, she woke up to keys for $1 million house and a life she never imagined. Sienna Brooks had exactly 14 minutes to finish her double shift at the Golden Phoenix before her second job started across town. She moved through the upscale Korean restaurant with practiced efficiency, refilling water glasses, clearing plates, smiling through the exhaustion that had become her constant companion. 3 jobs, 70-hour weeks, all to keep her younger sister in college and away from the streets that had swallowed too many girls from their South LA neighborhood. She didn't notice the tension in the private dining room until she pushed through the door with a tray of banchan. Then she froze. The owner, Kang Jae-sung, sat rigid at the head of the table, his legendary composure cracked. Around him, 5 men in expensive suits spoke in rapid Korean, voices sharp with barely controlled panic. And across the table sat 3 other men, Chinese by their features, watching with predatory satisfaction. Sienna had worked at the Golden Phoenix for 2 years and had learned 3 things about Jae-sung. He was breathtakingly handsome in a way that made her stomach flip every time he walked past. He was unfailingly polite to staff in a way that felt genuine, and he was definitely not just a restaurant owner. The men who visited him, the way security always tightened when certain cars pulled up, the private meetings that lasted hours, Sienna wasn't stupid. Jae-sung ran more than just this restaurant. "Excuse me," she said softly, moving to set down the banchan. "I can come back." "Stay," Jae-sung said in English, his voice tight. His eyes met hers for a brief moment, and Sienna saw something she'd never seen before. Fear. Not for himself, but something deeper, more desperate. "It doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters if I can't solve this." One of the Chinese men smiled coldly. "You have until midnight, Kang. $100 million or we expose everything. Your operations, your legitimate businesses, your government contacts. By dawn, you'll be in federal custody and the Kang family will be finished." Sienna set down the tray with steady hands, even as her mind raced. $100 million. Blackmail. Federal custody. She should leave, should pretend she heard nothing, should protect herself from whatever criminal drama was unfolding. Instead, she found herself listening as Jae-sung's lieutenant spoke in Korean, his words frantic. Sienna had picked up Korean over 2 years of working here, not fluently, but enough to understand. Something about accounts frozen, about banks refusing transfers, about international wire restrictions that made the money inaccessible. They had the money. They just couldn't move it. The Chinese man stood. "Midnight, Kang. Not a minute later." They left and the room erupted into Korean, shouting, panic, desperation. Sienna should have left then, should have walked away. Instead, she heard herself say, "What if you use cryptocurrency?" The room fell silent. Every man turned to stare at her. This black waitress in her discount uniform, who'd just spoken out of turn in a private meeting. Jae-sung's expression was unreadable. "What did you say?" Heat flooded Sienna's cheeks, but she'd started, so she might as well finish. "You said your accounts are frozen and banks won't process international transfers. But cryptocurrency doesn't go through traditional banking systems. If you have the money in accessible accounts, you could convert it to Bitcoin or Ethereum, transfer it through a decentralized exchange, and convert it back to their preferred currency. The whole process takes maybe 20 minutes. One of Jae-sung's men scoffed, speaking in Korean. "This waitress thinks she understands finance." "I have a degree in financial technology from Cal State," Sienna interrupted, switching to Korean. Pronunciation rough but understandable. "I would have worked in fintech, but my sister needed college money more than I needed pride. I've been following crypto markets for 5 years. I know what I'm talking about." Jae-sung leaned forward, eyes sharp with sudden intensity. "Explain. Step by step. How would we do this?" Sienna's heart pounded, but she pulled out her phone, opening an app. You'd need accounts on at least 3 different exchanges to move that volume without triggering alerts. You'd split the amount across multiple wallets, transfer through mixing services to obscure the trail, then consolidate on the receiving end. It's technically legal. Cryptocurrency transactions are protected, but it bypasses all traditional banking restrictions. How long would it take? To set up? If you have the right documentation, maybe 4 hours to create accounts and verify them with premium status. To execute the transfers? 20 minutes, like I said. Jae-sung stood abruptly. Show me now. He looked at his lieutenant. Get her whatever she needs. Computer access, documentation, everything. Then to Sienna. If you can do this, if you can solve this problem, I will owe you a debt I can never repay. I just want to keep my job, Sienna said quietly, and not get killed for witnessing all this. Something flickered in Jae-sung's eyes. Respect, maybe, or recognition of her courage. You have my word. Now please, help me save my family. The next 4 hours were the most intense of Sienna's life. She was set up in Jae-sung's private office, a sleek space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown LA. 3 computers, unlimited resources, and Jae-sung's complete trust. His men brought her documentation, account information, everything she requested without question. Sienna worked with focused intensity, creating accounts on Binance, Kraken, Coinbase Pro, and 3 smaller, decentralized exchanges. She used Jae-sung's legitimate business credentials to fast-track verification, paying premium fees for instant approval. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, muscle memory from her college days kicking in. Jae-sung watched over her shoulder, not speaking, just present. His cologne, subtle, expensive, distinctly him, distracted her more than it should. She was hyper-aware of his proximity, the way he leaned close to see the screens, the heat of his body. You're remarkable, he said quietly in Korean as she set up the 6th exchange account. The way you think, how quickly you work. Why are you serving tables? Because fintech firms don't hire people without experience, and you can't get experience without getting hired. Sienna didn't look up from the screen. It's a closed loop, so I work 3 jobs, send money to my sister, and try not to think about what I could have been. What's your sister studying? Pre-med at UCLA. She's going to be a doctor. First in our family to finish college. Pride colored Sienna's voice. She's brilliant. Way smarter than me. She just needs a chance. You're giving her that chance. That's love. Sienna finally looked up, meeting Jae-sung's eyes. Up close, he was even more devastating. Sharp features, intense gaze, lips that probably felt incredible against skin. She shook off the thought. What about you? Why risk everything running whatever you run? You're clearly smart enough to make money legally. Legacy, duty, the same reasons men have destroyed themselves for centuries. Jae-sung's smile was bitter. My grandfather built this empire. My father expanded it. When he died, I inherited the responsibility whether I wanted it or not. And now, all of it, 3 generations of work, hangs on whether you can move money through computers. No pressure then. Sienna turned back to the screens. Okay, accounts are verified. Now we set up the wallets and start moving funds. The transfers were nerve-wracking. Sienna split the 100 million across 15 different wallets, moving them through mixing services and privacy coins to obscure the trail. Each transaction had to be perfectly timed to avoid exchange rate fluctuations. One mistake could cost millions. Jae-sung's men crowded around, watching numbers flow across screens. The tension was suffocating. Sienna's hands shook as she executed the final transfers, routing everything through a Monero mixer before consolidating into 3 main wallets controlled by the Chinese blackmailers. Done, she said, voice hoarse. 100 million transferred. It'll show up in their accounts in about 5 minutes. Jae-sung immediately called the Chinese contact, speaking in Mandarin that Sienna couldn't follow. She slumped in the chair, exhausted as the conversation continued. Finally, Jae-sung hung up, and his expression transformed, relief so profound it was almost painful to witness. They received it, all of it. They're destroying the evidence as agreed. He turned to Sienna, and suddenly he was in front of her, taking her hands, pulling her up. You saved me. You saved my family. Everything we've built. How do I even begin to thank you? A raise? Sienna's attempt at humor fell flat as she realized how close they were standing, how his hand still held hers, how he was looking at her like she'd hung the moon. A raise, yes, and a proper position in my organization. Whatever you want, name it and it's yours. I just want to go home, Sienna said honestly. I miss both my other jobs tonight. I'm going to get fired from at least one of them, and my sister's probably worried sick because I never called. Jae-sung's expression shifted to concern. Your other jobs? I didn't think. He pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. What companies? I'll make calls. You won't be fired. You can't just. I can, and I will. His voice was firm. Sienna, you saved me tonight. The least I can do is protect your livelihood. Now tell me where you work. She told him. The cleaning company where she worked mornings. The retail store where she covered evening shifts. He made calls right there, speaking with authority that made it clear he was someone important, someone who expected to be obeyed. Both managers agreed to excuse her absence. There, Jae-sung said, satisfied. Now let me drive you home. I can take the bus. Sienna. He said her name like it was precious. Please, let me do this small thing. His car was a black Mercedes S-Class that probably cost more than Sienna would earn in 5 years. The interior smelled like leather and luxury. She gave him her address in South LA, watching his face carefully for judgment. Some people heard her neighborhood and made assumptions, but Jae-sung just programmed the GPS and drove, navigating through late-night LA traffic with easy confidence. Tell me about yourself, he said. Beyond the facts I know, who is Sienna Brooks? Nobody special, just a girl trying to survive. The woman who just saved a $100 million deal using cryptocurrency and cutting-edge financial technology is not nobody special. Jae-sung glanced at her. You're extraordinary. I saw that tonight. Your intelligence, your composure under pressure, the way you commanded that room full of men who'd kill without hesitation. You didn't flinch. I was terrified. You didn't show it. That takes strength. He paused. Why fintech? What drew you to it? Sienna found herself talking about growing up poor, watching her mother struggle with predatory payday loans and check cashing fees, about learning that financial systems were designed to trap people like her family, to extract wealth from those who had the least, about wanting to change that, to build better systems. I wanted to create financial tools for people the banks ignore, she said. Micro-lending platforms, peer-to-peer payment systems that don't charge ridiculous fees, investment opportunities for people with only $50 to spare. I had so many ideas, but after my mom died, my sister needed me, so I put it all aside. That's not aside, that's delayed. Jae-sung's voice was gentle. Your dreams don't disappear just because you're prioritizing someone else first. They pulled up to her apartment building, a rundown complex with security bars on windows and graffiti on the walls. Sienna felt a flush of embarrassment, seeing it through his eyes. This is me. Thanks for the ride. Sienna, wait. Jae-sung touched her arm lightly. Can I see you tomorrow? Come to the restaurant at noon. There's something I want to discuss. About the money? About your future. His eyes held hers. I meant what I said. You saved my family tonight. I take debts seriously. Let me help you the way you helped me. I don't need charity. It's not charity. It's recognition of talent. He smiled and Sienna's heart did that stupid flip again. Just come, please. Hear me out. Against her better judgment, Sienna nodded. Okay, noon. I'll be there. Sienna couldn't sleep. She lay in her small bedroom, staring at the ceiling, replaying the night. The fear in Jae-sung's eyes. The way he'd looked at her after she'd solved his problem. The warmth of his hand on her arm. She knew she was playing with fire. Men like him, powerful, dangerous, operating outside the law. They didn't mix with women like her. This was a recipe for heartbreak. But God, the way he'd said her name, like it mattered, like she mattered. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Thank you for everything. Sleep well. JJS, Sienna stared at the message, heart racing. He'd gotten her number from employee files, probably. She should be annoyed by the presumption. Instead, she found herself smiling as she typed back, You're welcome. See you tomorrow. His response was immediate. I look forward to it, more than you know. Sienna arrived at the Golden Phoenix at 11:55 a.m., having agonized over her outfit for an hour. She'd settled on her nicest jeans and a simple but flattering top. Nothing fancy, but clean and professional. The restaurant was closed for lunch prep, but the door was unlocked. Inside, Jae-sung waited in the main dining room, wearing casual clothes, dark slacks and a white button-down, that somehow made him look even more attractive than the suits. He smiled when he saw her, genuine warmth lighting his features. Sienna, thank you for coming. He gestured to a table set for two. I had chef prepare lunch. I hope you're hungry. The meal was incredible. Course after course of Korean dishes Sienna had never tried, each one explained by Jae-sung with patient detail. They talked easily, conversation flowing from food to culture to dreams. He asked about her sister, her childhood, her mother's death, and he shared his own story. Growing up in Seoul, moving to LA at 15, the pressure of family expectations. My father died when I was 23, Jae-sung said quietly. Heart attack, no warning. One day he was invincible, the next he was gone, and suddenly I was responsible for everything. The businesses, the family, the people who depended on us. I wasn't ready. But you did it anyway. I didn't have a choice. His smile was sad. Duty doesn't care if you're ready, it just demands. After lunch, Jae-sung stood. Come with me. I want to show you something. He led her to his office where a laptop sat open on the desk. I spent the morning making calls, pulling strings, calling in favors. He turned the screen toward her. This is a job offer from Kim and Associates, one of the top fintech consulting firms in LA. Senior analyst position, $85,000 a year, full benefits, starting immediately. Sienna's mouth fell open. What? How? I know the founder, told him about your credentials, your work last night, your potential. He wants to interview you, but it's a formality. The job is yours if you want it. Jae-sung, I can't accept this. It's too much. It's nothing compared to what you did for me. He moved closer. Sienna, you deserve this opportunity. You deserve to use your talent to build the career you dreamed of. Please, let me help you. Why? She searched his face. Why do you care so much? You barely know me. Because last night, you could have walked away. You could have protected yourself, ignored a problem that wasn't yours. Instead, you risked your safety to help a man you suspected was a criminal. His hand came up to cup her cheek, thumb brushing across her skin. You're brave and brilliant and beautiful, and I... He stopped, jaw tightening. And you what? Sienna whispered. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about you, which is insane because I met you yesterday. But Sienna, when you looked at me across those computers, when you worked with such focus and brilliance, I felt something I haven't felt in years. Hope. Like maybe there was more to life than just duty and survival. Sienna should step back, should maintain professional distance. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. This is a terrible idea. You're my boss. You're involved in dangerous things. This could only end badly. Probably. His forehead touched hers. But what if it doesn't? What if this is the beginning of something extraordinary? You don't even know me. Then let me. Let me take you to dinner. Real dinner. Not as a boss or a grateful client, but as a man who wants to know everything about you. One dinner, Sienna heard herself say. But Jae-sung, I don't do casual. I've seen too many girls in my neighborhood get used and discarded by men with money and power. If you're looking for something temporary, find someone else. I don't want temporary. His voice was fierce. I want to know the woman who charged into danger to save me, who dreams of changing financial systems for the poor, who works 3 jobs to give her sister a chance. I want to know you, Sienna Brooks. All of you. She kissed him then, closing the distance and pressing her lips to his. He responded immediately, arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her close. The kiss deepened, and Sienna felt years of loneliness and exhaustion melting away in the heat of his touch. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jae-sung rested his forehead against hers. So that's a yes to dinner? That's a yes to trying, to seeing where this goes. Sienna smiled. But I'm taking the job, not because you got it for me, but because I earned the right to use my skills, and I'll prove I deserve it. I have no doubt. He kissed her again, soft and sweet. Now about that dinner, his phone rang. Jae-sung's expression darkened as he read the caller ID. I need to take this. Work. He answered in Korean, and Sienna watched his face transform from soft to hard, the gentle man replaced by the dangerous one. When he hung up, tension radiated from his body. There's a problem. The Chinese group. They're claiming we shorted them $5 million. They're demanding we make up the difference or they'll release everything anyway. Fury flashed through Sienna. That's impossible. I transferred exactly $100 million. I have receipts, blockchain confirmations, everything. They know that. They're extorting us for more money. Jae-sung's voice was cold. They think we'll pay rather than risk exposure. Will you? No. He looked at her eyes hard. I'm going to end this. Permanently. I tried to handle this peacefully, but they forced my hand. Fear spiked through Sienna. What does that mean? It means I have work to do. Violent work. Sienna, you should go. Don't come to the restaurant for a few days. I'll call you when it's safe. Jae-sung, please. He cupped her face again. I won't let you be part of this. Won't risk you being connected to what comes next. Just trust me and stay safe. He kissed her once more, desperate and consuming, then walked her to the door. Sienna left with her heart pounding, terrified of what he was about to do. 3 days passed with no word from Jae-sung. Sienna went to her interview at Kim & Associates, nailed it, got the job offer in writing, but couldn't enjoy the victory. She watched the news obsessively, terrified she'd see his face among crime reports. On the fourth morning, a black car pulled up outside her apartment. The driver, one of Jae-sung's men she recognized from that night, handed her a note. Meet me at this address, please. I need to see you. Jae-yes. The address was in the Hollywood Hills. Sienna's hands shook as the driver navigated winding roads to a gorgeous modern house with views over the entire city. Jae-sung waited on the front porch, looking exhausted but whole. You're okay, Sienna breathed, launching herself at him. He caught her, holding tight. I'm okay. It's handled. We found evidence they were working with the FBI, trying to get immunity by giving us up. We exposed them first, showed the FBI how they were being manipulated. They're in federal custody now and we're clear. No violence? Not this time. He pulled back, studying her face. I hated not calling you, but I couldn't risk connecting you to any of it. I thought you were dead. I thought... Emotion choked her words. I'm sorry. God, Sienna, I'm so sorry. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. I'll make it up to you, starting with this. He gestured to the house. It's yours. Sienna blinked. What? The house. It's in your name. Deed, title, everything. Fully paid, no mortgage. He smiled at her shocked expression. I told you I'd take debt seriously. You saved my family. This is payment. Jae-sung, I can't accept a house. This is insane. You can, and you will, because I also bought the one next door. He pointed to an identical house 30 feet away. That one's mine. So technically, I'm your neighbor. Very convenient for dinner dates. Sienna started laughing, the sound edging into hysteria. You bought me a house and moved it next door. This is the most extra thing anyone has ever done. I'm an extra person when it comes to people I care about. He took her hands. Sienna, I know this is fast. I know we barely know each other. But these 4 days without seeing you were torture. I want you in my life. I want to build something real with you. And I want to give you the stability and comfort you've never had. What if this doesn't work? What if we date for a month and realize we're incompatible? Then you'll own a beautiful house free and clear, and I'll have a very painful reminder of my impulsiveness next door. His smile was self-deprecating. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to fall so deeply in love that this neighborhood won't be big enough to contain us. You're insane. Probably. Is it working? Sienna looked at this gorgeous, dangerous, impossibly generous man and felt her heart make a decision her brain couldn't justify. Yeah, it's working. Show me my house. The house was a dream. 3 bedrooms, modern kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows, a pool overlooking the city. Every detail was perfect, designed for comfort and beauty. Jae-sung walked her through each room, pointing out features he'd specifically requested. This room, he said, opening a door to a space set up as an office, is for your work. I had it equipped with everything you'd need for fintech consulting, and there's a bedroom prepared for your sister for when she visits or if she ever wants to live here. Tears burned Sienna's eyes. You thought of everything. I tried. He pulled her close. I want you to be happy, Sienna, to have space to grow, to dream, to become everything you're meant to be. And selfishly, I want to be part of that journey. They made love that afternoon in her new house, on sheets that still smelled fresh, with sunlight streaming through windows. Jae-sung was gentle and intense, worshiping her body like it was precious. And afterward, lying tangled together, Sienna felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. Tell me about your world, she said, tracing patterns on his chest. The real one, not the restaurant owner facade. Jae-sung was quiet for a long moment. It's complicated and dangerous. Are you sure you want to know? I want to understand what I'm getting into. No more secrets. So he told her about the Kang family's operations, protection services for Korean businesses, import-export that sometimes involve smuggling, entertainment venues that were fronts for gambling, about the careful balance between legal and illegal, between helping his community and breaking laws. I'm not a good person by conventional standard, he said quietly. I've hurt people, destroyed businesses that threatened us, paid off officials and intimidated witnesses. I do what's necessary to protect my family and our interests. Why not go legitimate? You have enough money, enough resources. Because the people who depend on us don't have access to legitimate systems. Immigrant families who need loans but can't get bank accounts. Business owners who need protection from gangs but can't trust police. Workers who need jobs but don't have documentation. His voice was passionate. We exist in the cracks of society, helping people the system has failed. Yes, we profit, but we also provide services no one else will. Sienna understood that more than he knew. Hadn't she grown up in those cracks, watching her mother struggle with systems designed to exclude her? So you're like Robin Hood, but Korean and with more violence? Jae-sung laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. That's one interpretation. My enemies would say I'm a parasite feeding on my community's vulnerability. What do you say? I say I'm doing the best I can with the life I inherited, and trying to transition us toward legitimate operations without abandoning the people who need us. He kissed her forehead. Does this change things? Knowing the full truth? I'd be lying if I said I was comfortable with all of it. But Jae-sung, I grew up in neighborhoods where gangs ruled because police didn't care. I've seen what happens when people have no one to turn to. So yeah, I understand the gray areas. She met his eyes. Just promise me you're working towards something better. That you're not just comfortable with the violence. I promise. Every year, more of our operations become legitimate. It's slow, but we're getting there. Then I'm in. Fully in. Whatever this is. Whatever it becomes. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Sienna started at Kim & Associates and proved herself quickly. Her innovative ideas for blockchain-based microlending catching the attention of major investors. She brought her sister Tasha to the house, watching the 18-year-old's face light up at the bedroom designed just for her. Sienna, what the hell? Tasha breathed, taking in the space. How can you afford this? Did you rob a bank? It's a gift from my boyfriend. Sienna waited for the explosion. Your what? Since when do you have a boyfriend? And what kind of boyfriend gives houses as gifts? Is he a drug dealer? Please tell me he's not a drug dealer. He's complicated, but he's good to me, Tash. Better than anyone's ever been. And he wants to help you, too. He's setting up a scholarship fund for your medical school. This is insane. I need to meet this guy immediately. The dinner where Tasha met Jae-sung was simultaneously wonderful and terrifying. Jae-sung charmed Sienna's sister effortlessly, asking intelligent questions about her studies, listening with genuine interest to her dreams of becoming a pediatrician. But Tasha was sharp. She saw through the polished exterior to the danger beneath. He's in the mob, isn't he? Tasha said later, after Jae-sung left. Like Korean Mafia or whatever? Sienna couldn't lie to her sister. Yes, but he's trying to transition out. And Tash, he makes me happy. Really, truly happy. I just don't want you to get hurt. Or worse. Tasha's eyes were worried. You've taken care of me our whole lives. I need you safe. I am safe. Jae-sung would die before letting anything happen to me. That's what I'm afraid of, that someone's going to die. But Tasha hugged her anyway. Just be careful, okay? And if he ever hurts you, I'll kill him myself. Deal. Sienna's relationship with Jae-sung deepened in ways that terrified and thrilled her. He was attentive, generous, surprisingly vulnerable when they were alone. He cooked for her, brought her coffee in the mornings, left little notes around her house. But she also saw his other side, the cold efficiency when handling business, the barely leashed violence in his eyes when threats emerged. 3 months in, a rival organization made a move on Kang family territory. Sienna came home one night to find Jae-sung on her couch, bloodied and exhausted, with 2 of his men standing guard. What happened? She rushed to him, checking for injuries. Ambush. They hit one of our warehouses, killed 3 of my people. His voice was flat, emotionless. We retaliated. It's handled. You're hurt. It's nothing. Bruises, a few cuts. I've had worse. But when she touched his ribs, he winced. Sienna sent his guards away and spent the night patching him up, cleaning wounds and wrapping his ribs. He let her, this powerful man who commanded armies, submitted to her care with quiet gratitude. I hate that you saw me like this, he said quietly, covered in blood, looking like the monster people say I am. You're not a monster. You're a man caught in an impossible situation, doing what you think you have to do. She kissed his bruised knuckles. But Jae-sung, I need you to be honest. Will this ever end? Will there ever be a time when you're not in danger? I'm working toward it, but it takes time. Years, probably. Can I handle years of this? Wondering if you'll come home, seeing you covered in blood? Sienna's voice broke. I love you. God help me. I've fallen completely in love with you, but I'm terrified. Jae-sung pulled her into his lap carefully. I love you too. So much it scares me, and I understand if this is too much, if you need to walk away. I don't want to walk away. I want you to promise me you're serious about going legitimate, that you're not just saying it. I swear it. Every decision I make now is about building an exit strategy. I won't spend my life like this. Won't risk losing you because I couldn't let go of my father's empire. They held each other that night, both knowing that promises were fragile things in his world, but also knowing that love, real, deep, transformative love, was worth fighting for. 6 months into their relationship, Jae-sung took Sienna to Seoul to meet his family. His mother was elegant and intimidating. His uncles were traditional and suspicious of this Black American woman their nephew had brought home. But Sienna held her ground, speaking the Korean she'd been studying intensively, showing respect without submission. You are not what I expected, Jae-sung's mother said over tea, her English impeccable. My son has always chosen duty over personal happiness, but he looks at you like you are both. I'm trying to be worthy of that. Worthy? His mother smiled slightly. My dear, you saved my family's legacy. You gave my son a reason to imagine a different future. You are far more than worthy. That night, Jae-sung took Sienna to the Kang family's ancestral home in the countryside. Under stars brighter than anything in LA, he told her about his childhood, his father's expectations, the weight of being the only son. I always thought I'd marry someone my family chose, he said. Continue the traditional way. Have children who'd inherit this burden just like I did. But then you walked into my life with your brilliant mind and brave heart, and suddenly I wanted something different. What do you want? Sienna asked. A life, not just duty and survival, but actual life, with you, building something new that honors the past but isn't trapped by it. He turned to face her. Marry me, Sienna. Not now. I know it's too soon. But someday, when you're ready, say you'll marry me. That's the weirdest proposal I've ever heard of. It's not a proposal. It's a promise that one day I'll ask properly, and I'm hoping you'll say yes. Sienna kissed him, tasting salt and dreams. When you ask properly, the answer will be yes. I love you, Kang Jae-sung. All of you, the darkness and the light. I love you, Sienna Brooks. Thank you for seeing the man beneath the monster. They returned to LA to find crisis waiting. The FBI had launched an investigation into Korean organized crime operations, and the Kang family was at the center. Jae-sung spent weeks meeting with lawyers, carefully separating legitimate businesses from illegal operations, preparing for the worst. They're building a RICO case, he told Sienna one night, exhaustion carved into his features. If they succeed, I could go to prison for 20 years, maybe more. Terror seized Sienna's chest. There has to be something we can do. There is. Cooperate. Give them smaller players in exchange for immunity. His jaw clenched. But that means betraying people who've been loyal to my family for decades, people who trusted us to protect them. What will you do? I don't know. Every option destroys something I care about. Sienna spent that night thinking, her fintech background churning through possibilities. By morning, she had an idea. What if you didn't have to choose? What if there was a way to satisfy the FBI without betraying anyone? Jae-sung looked up from his coffee, hope flickering in his exhausted eyes. I'm listening. The FBI wants to dismantle criminal organizations, right? They want convictions and asset seizures. What if you gave them something better? What if you helped them understand the systemic issues that create organized crime in immigrant communities? Sienna, they don't care about systemic issues. They want arrests. But what if you partnered with them, became a consultant on organized crime prevention, helped them identify and dismantle actual trafficking operations and violent gangs while protecting the community services your family provides? You'd be working with law enforcement instead of against them. Jae-sung stared at her. That's actually brilliant. But why would the FBI agree? Because you'd give them bigger fish. You know the organization's actually doing damage. Human trafficking, drug cartels, weapons smuggling. You give them actionable intelligence on real threats, and in exchange, you get immunity and help transitioning your family's operations to legal businesses. It could work. Jae-sung pulled her close. You're incredible. How do you always see solutions I miss? Because I'm not emotionally invested in the traditional way of doing things. I just see problems and find creative solutions. She kissed him. Now go call your lawyers. Let's save your ass. The negotiation with the FBI took 3 months. Jae-sung provided detailed intelligence on 3 major trafficking operations and a weapons smuggling ring, leading to dozens of arrests and the seizure of over $200 million in illicit assets. In exchange, the Kang family received immunity and a 5-year window to transition all operations to legal businesses. Sienna worked alongside Jae-sung's lawyers and accountants, using her fintech expertise to design legitimate business structures that could employ everyone currently working in gray market operations. She created micro-lending platforms for small businesses, developed consulting services for immigrant entrepreneurs, even launched a cryptocurrency exchange specifically for underserved communities. You're doing it, she told Jae-sung 9 months into the transition. They stood in the office of Kong Consulting Group, a legitimate business empire built from the ashes of his father's criminal organization. You're actually doing it, going straight. We're doing it, he corrected. None of this would exist without you. Your vision, your intelligence, your courage to imagine something different. He pulled a small box from his desk drawer. Which brings me to something I've been meaning to ask properly. Sienna's breath caught as Jae-sung dropped to one knee. Sienna Brooks, you walked into my life when I was drowning and gave me a reason to breathe. You saved my family, yes, but more importantly, you saved me. You saw past the violence to the man I wanted to be and loved him anyway. You're brilliant, brave, beautiful, and you make me want to be worthy of you every single day. He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring. Will you marry me? Build this new life with me? Prove that sometimes the most unexpected love stories are the ones that change everything? Yes, Sienna said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, you impossible, generous, reformed criminal. I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her like she was oxygen. Around them, his entire staff erupted in applause. They'd been listening at the door, apparently. Sienna laughed through her tears, overwhelmed by joy. They married 6 months later in a ceremony that blended Korean and American traditions. Tasha was maid of honor, stunning in lavender silk. Jae-sung's mother cried through the entire ceremony. And when they exchanged vows, Sienna in English, Jae-sung in Korean, both promising love and partnership and faith in their impossible future, everyone in attendance felt the weight of what they represented. 2 people from different worlds who'd built a bridge between them. The reception was held at the Golden Phoenix, the restaurant where it all began. Sienna's friends from South LA mingled with Jae-sung's family from Seoul, with FBI agents who'd become unlikely allies, with employees of Kang Consulting Group who'd successfully transitioned from crime to legitimate business. Did you ever imagine this? Tasha asked, pulling Sienna aside. That night you fixed his money problem. Did you think it would end here? Not even a little bit. I thought I'd get a thank you, maybe a bonus, and go back to my 3 jobs. Sienna watched Jae-sung across the room laughing with his uncles. I never imagined falling in love. Never imagined any of this. He's good for you. I was wrong to worry. Tasha hugged her. You're happy, really, genuinely happy, and that's all I ever wanted for you. I am happy, terrifyingly happy, like I'm waiting for something to go wrong. Then stop waiting and just enjoy it. You've earned this, Sienna. Both of you have. 1 year into their marriage, Sienna launched her own company, Brooks Financial Solutions, a fintech firm dedicated to creating banking alternatives for underserved communities. Jae-sung was her first investor, but she quickly attracted others, her innovative micro-lending platform and cryptocurrency payment system gaining national attention. She was profiled in Forbes, interviewed on financial news programs, invited to speak at conferences. The waitress from South LA became a thought leader in financial inclusion, her story inspiring thousands. But she never forgot where she came from. Every week, she volunteered at community centers in her old neighborhood, teaching financial literacy and coding to kids who looked like her, who came from nothing like she had. Jae Sung fully transitioned the Kang family business into legitimate operations, consulting, real estate, technology investments. He still maintained connections to the Korean community, still provided services and support, but everything was legal now. Clean. They bought a bigger house, one where they could host family dinners and business meetings, where they could imagine raising children someday. They traveled Seoul, Tokyo, London, Paris, seeing the world together, building memories. And every night, no matter how busy or stressful the day, they came home to each other, to the love that had started with a desperate crisis and a brilliant solution, that had survived violence and danger and impossible odds. 3 years after that first night, Sienna stood in the private dining room of the Golden Phoenix, looking at the spot where she'd first overheard Jae Sung's crisis. The room was set up for a celebration, the 10th anniversary of Kang Consulting Group, now one of the most respected business firms in LA. "What are you thinking about?" Jae Sung asked, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "About how terrified I was that night, how I almost walked away because it wasn't my problem." She leaned back against him. "What would have happened if I had? If I just served the banchan and left? I'd probably be in federal prison. The family would be destroyed, and I'd never have known what I was missing." He kissed her neck softly. "But you didn't walk away. You saw someone in trouble and helped, without thinking about the cost. That's who you are, Sienna. That's why I love you." "I love you too. My impossible, wonderful, completely reformed husband." "Reformed is a strong word," he joked. "I'm still working on it." "You're doing great. No federal charges in 3 years is a personal record." They laughed together, the sound full of joy and hard-won peace. Around them, guests began arriving, employees, family, friends, all the people who'd supported their journey from criminal empire to legitimate success. Tasha arrived with her fiancé, a fellow medical resident she'd met at UCLA. She hugged Sienna tight. "I'm proud of you, sis. Look at everything you've built. We built it together. You, me, Jae Sung, everyone in this room. Nobody does anything alone." The evening was perfect. Speeches about transformation and second chances, toasts to new beginnings, laughter that echoed through the restaurant. Sienna stood beside her husband, watching the celebration, feeling grateful for every unexpected turn that had led her here. Later that night, alone in their home, Sienna and Jae Sung stood on their balcony overlooking the city. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Giving up the power, the control, the life you knew?" "Not once." His arms tightened around her. "That life was killing me slowly. I was surviving, not living. But you, Sienna, you taught me the difference. You showed me that real power isn't controlling people through fear. It's building something meaningful, helping people rise, leaving the world better than you found it." Very philosophical for a reformed crime boss. "I have a very smart wife. It's contagious." He turned her to face him. "I need to tell you something. I've been waiting for the right moment." Sienna's heart raced. "What?" "I've been offered a position at the Justice Department, consulting on immigrant community relations and organized crime prevention. They want me to help develop programs that address root causes instead of just arresting people." "Jae Sung, that's amazing. Why do you look worried?" "Because it means full transparency. Every aspect of my past, everything I've done, will be scrutinized. And I'm worried about how that reflects on you, your company, your reputation. My reputation is built on creating opportunities for people others write off, including reformed criminals trying to make better lives. If anything, your story makes my mission more credible." She cupped his face. "Take the job. Keep building the bridge between your world and the mainstream. That's how real change happens." "You're sure?" "Completely. I'm proud of you, of us, of everything we've become." She kissed him softly. "Now tell me you already accepted and we're celebrating tonight." "I wanted your blessing first, but yes, I accepted this morning." They made love that night with the city lights spread beneath them, celebrating not just his new position, but the journey that had brought them here. Two people who'd met in crisis and built something extraordinary from the wreckage. 5 years into their marriage, Sienna discovered she was pregnant. The news came during a business trip to Seoul, and she video called Jae-sung immediately, watching his face transform with joy through the screen. "I'm going to be a father?" His voice was awed, reverent. "Yes, you're going to be the best father. Our kid is going to be so loved it's embarrassing. Come home right now. I need to hold you. I have 2 more meetings. Cancel them, please. This is more important." Sienna laughed, but she was already packing. Some things were more important than business. Love, family, the future they were building together. Their daughter was born 9 months later, Min-jae Brooks Kang, named for Jae-sung's late father, but carrying both their surnames. She had Sienna's eyes and Jae-sung's smile, and from the moment she entered the world, she was impossibly loved. Jae-sung was an attentive father, taking paternity leave from his Justice Department position, learning to change diapers and give bottles with the same focus he'd once applied to criminal enterprises. Sienna watched him hold their daughter, singing Korean lullabies, and fell in love with him all over again. "She's perfect," he whispered one night, cradling Minjo against his chest. "I didn't know I could love something this much. I would burn the world down for her." "Let's maybe aim for building the world up instead," Sienna suggested. "Less arson, more creating opportunities for her generation." "Deal, but I'm still terrifying any boy who looks at her wrong. She's 3 weeks old, Jae-sung. I'm planning ahead. When Min-jae was 2, they had a son, James Brooks Kang, named for Sienna's late mother Jamila. The house filled with noise and chaos and love, with Korean and English, and the occasional toddler gibberish, with family dinners where 3 generations gathered around the table. Tasha became a pediatrician, opening a practice in South LA that served families who couldn't afford traditional health care. She met her patients where they were, just like Sienna had taught her. The sisters remained close, their children growing up together, 2 families knit tight by love and shared history. Jae-sung's mother moved to LA permanently, declaring she wanted to be near her grandchildren. She and Sienna developed a close relationship, the older woman teaching her daughter-in-law about Korean traditions, Sienna sharing her vision for financial inclusion and community empowerment. Brooks Financial Solutions expanded nationwide, then internationally, partnering with NGOs and governments to create banking alternatives for the unbanked. Sienna became a voice for financial justice, her TED Talk on systemic barriers to wealth accumulation going viral with over 20 million views. Kang Consulting Group became a model for corporate social responsibility, proving that businesses could be profitable while prioritizing community welfare. Jae-sung published a book about his journey from organized crime to legitimate business, the proceeds going to rehabilitation programs for former gang members. They built the life they dreamed of during those early uncertain days. Not perfect, they fought about money management styles, about how to discipline the kids, about whose turn it was to deal with the toddler's 3 a.m. nightmare. But they fought fair, always coming back to the love that anchored them. 10 years after that first night in the Golden Phoenix private dining room, Sienna and Jae-sung renewed their vows in a ceremony overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Their children stood beside them. Min-jae at 8 years old, serious and thoughtful like her father. James at 6, charismatic and bold like his mother. 10 years ago, Jae-sung said, reading vows he'd written himself, "I was a man trapped by duty and violence, going through the motions of living without actually being alive. Then you walked into my crisis and changed everything. You didn't just solve my problem, Sienna. You showed me who I could become. You loved the man I was and believed in the man I wanted to be. These 10 years have been the happiest of my life, not because they were easy, but because they were real. Because I spent them with you." Sienna's tears fell freely. 10 years ago, I was surviving, not living. Working 3 jobs, giving up my dreams, accepting that this was as good as life would get. Then I met you, and you showed me that dreams weren't dead. They were just delayed. You gave me space to grow, resources to build, and love that never demanded I be anything other than myself. You've been my partner, my best friend, my home. Here's to 10 more years, and 50 after that, and however many we get." They kissed as their children cheered, as their families celebrated, as the sun set over water. 2 people who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances and built something extraordinary. 15 years after that first night, Sienna stood in the newly opened Brooks Kang Community Center, a massive complex in South LA offering job training, financial literacy, childcare, healthcare, and opportunities for people who'd been written off by traditional systems. The opening ceremony was packed with community members, politicians, celebrities, and families who'd been helped by their programs. Sienna took the podium, looking out at the crowd, then finding Jae Sung's eyes in the front row. This center, she began, exists because 15 years ago, I made a choice. I could have walked away from a problem that wasn't mine, could have protected myself from involvement in something dangerous. Instead, I helped a stranger, and that choice changed my entire life. She smiled at Jae Sung. That stranger became my husband, my partner, my best friend. Together, we built businesses, raised children, and worked to create opportunities for people who need them most. But this center isn't about us. It's about every person who's been told they're not good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. It's about proving that with the right support, anyone can transform their life. Because transformation isn't magic. It's work, support, belief, and opportunity. That's what this center provides. That's what we're committing to for generations to come. The applause was thunderous. Jae Sung joined her on stage, their children between them, and they cut the ribbon together. A family united in purpose, in love, in the determination to leave the world better than they found it. That night, alone in their home office, Sienna and Jae Sung looked at the financial projections for their various ventures. Brooks Financial Solutions was valued at over $500 million. Kang Consulting Group was approaching $1 billion. Together, they'd created wealth that would sustain their family for generations. But more importantly, they'd created impact. Thousands of people had been helped by their programs. Hundreds of businesses had been launched with their microloans. Dozens of former gang members had transitioned to legitimate work through their rehabilitation programs. The numbers told a story of transformation multiplied. "Do you remember what you said that first night?" Jae Sung asked, pulling Sienna onto his lap. "When I asked how long it would take to move the money?" 20 minutes. I said 20 minutes. Sienna laughed. I was so naive. I had no idea I was starting a timer on the rest of my life. Best 20 minutes I've ever spent. He kissed her neck softly. You know what I think about sometimes? What would have happened if you'd been 30 seconds later walking into that room? If you'd taken a different route through the restaurant? If you'd decided to skip bringing the banchan? We never would have met. You'd have figured out the money problem some other way, and I'd still be working 3 jobs. Or I'd be in federal prison, and you'd be... God, I don't even want to imagine a world where we don't exist together. His arms tightened around her. Do you believe in fate, Sienna? That some things are meant to be? I believe in choices. I chose to help you. You chose to thank me properly. We chose each other again and again, every day for 15 years. That's not fate. That's commitment. I love you so much it still scares me sometimes. I love you too. My impossible, wonderful, completely legitimate husband. They laughed together, the sound full of shared history and inside jokes, of children sleeping upstairs and dreams realized, of a future still unfolding with infinite possibility. 20 years after that first night, the Golden Phoenix celebrated its 50th anniversary. The restaurant had become an institution, a symbol of Korean-American success and community building. And at the heart of the celebration, Sienna and Jae Sung stood together, surrounded by their family, their employees, their community. Their children were teenagers now, Min Jae studying computer science at Stanford, already developing financial inclusion apps. James passionate about criminal justice reform, wanting to follow his father's path of transformation and redemption. Tasha's children played with the younger generation of the Kang family, a beautiful blend of cultures and histories. Jae Sung's mother, now in her 80s, held court at the head table, regaling anyone who'd listen with stories about the old days, about her son's transformation, about the granddaughter-in-law who'd saved them all. Speech, someone called, and the crowd took up the chant. Jae Sung and Sienna exchanged glances, then moved to the microphone together. 20 years ago, Jae Sung began, I was drowning, trapped by circumstances I couldn't control, facing the destruction of everything my family had built. I was desperate, terrified, and out of options. He looked at Sienna. And then this brilliant, brave woman walked into the room and asked a simple question. What if you use cryptocurrency? In that moment, everything changed. I didn't know I was saving anyone, Sienna continued. I just saw a problem I could solve and offered a solution. But that choice, that one small choice to speak up instead of walking away, led to everything. To love, to family, to businesses that employ thousands, to programs that help tens of thousands. One choice, one moment, rippling out across 20 years. So here's what we want you to understand, Jae-sung said, his hand finding Sienna's. You don't have to be special to make a difference. You don't need resources or power or perfect circumstances. You just need to see someone in need and choose to help. That's what Sienna did for me. That's what we try to do for others every day. And that's what we hope everyone here will commit to. Choosing kindness, choosing courage, choosing to build instead of destroy. 20 years, Sienna finished, her voice emotional. 20 years of love, growth, transformation, and impact. Here's to 20 more, and all the lives will change together. The applause was deafening. People stood, cheering, celebrating not just the anniversary, but everything it represented. Two people from different worlds who'd built a bridge. A criminal empire transformed into legitimate good. A waitress who became a business leader. Love that survived every obstacle. Later, much later, when the celebration had ended and their guests had gone home, Sienna and Jae-sung walked through the empty restaurant. Their footsteps echoed in the dining room, through the kitchen, to the private room where it all began. This room, Jae-sung said quietly, this is where my life split into before and after. Before Sienna, when I was trapped and dying inside, and after Sienna, when I finally started living. I think about that night sometimes, how scared I was, how I almost didn't say anything. Sienna leaned against him. What if I hadn't? What if I'd let fear win? Then we both would have lost something extraordinary. But you didn't let fear win. You chose courage. He turned her to face him. Thank you. For that choice, and every choice after. For loving me, building with me, believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for seeing me, for valuing my mind, my ideas, my dreams, for giving me space to become everything I was meant to be. She kissed him softly. We did good, didn't we? With this life? We did extraordinary. He pulled her close. And we're not done yet. We have years left to build, to love, to create impact. This story isn't over, Sienna. It's just getting to the good part. They stood in that private dining room, holding each other, surrounded by ghosts of who they'd been and promises of who they'd become. Two people who'd met in crisis and built an empire of love and purpose. 25 years after that first night, Sienna Brooks Kang was honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom for her work in financial inclusion. She stood in the White House, Jae-sung beside her, their adult children in the audience, and accepted the recognition with grace and humility. But the award wasn't what mattered. What mattered was the thousands of letters she received from people whose lives had been changed by Brooks Financial Solutions, the single mothers who'd started businesses with microloans, the immigrants who'd sent money home without predatory fees, the teenagers who'd learned financial literacy and broken cycles of poverty. What mattered was Jae-sung's continued work at the Justice Department, developing programs that addressed root causes of crime instead of just punishing it. His testimony before Congress about rehabilitation and second chances. The former gang members who transitioned to legitimate work because someone believed they could change. What mattered was their children. Min Jae launching an AI-powered financial inclusion platform that was revolutionizing banking in developing nations. James working as a public defender, giving voice to people the system had silenced. What mattered was the legacy they'd built, not of wealth or power, but of impact, of lives transformed, of systems changed, of proving that sometimes the most unlikely love stories are the ones that change the world. 30 years after that first night, Sienna and Jae-sung sat on their balcony at sunset, grandchildren playing in the yard below. They were in their 50s now, graying at the temples, carrying the weight of decades of work and love. Do you ever regret it? Jae-sung asked, the question he'd asked before, years ago. Never. Not once. Sienna took his hand. Every hard moment, every scary decision, every risk we took, it was worth it for this, for us, for the family we built, for the impact we've made. I used to think happiness was impossible for someone like me, that I was too damaged, too broken, too caught in violence to deserve love. His voice was soft with emotion. You proved me wrong. Every single day you proved me wrong. You weren't broken. You were trapped. There's a difference. She squeezed his hand. And I wasn't saving you that night in the restaurant. I was just solving a problem. You saved yourself by choosing to become someone different. We saved each other. Yeah, we did. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun paint the sky in colors too beautiful for words. Below, their grandchildren laughed, and inside, their children prepared dinner, and somewhere in the city, people's lives were being changed by the programs they'd built. 30 years, Sienna said softly, from that terrified moment when I spoke up in your meeting to this. 30 years of love and building and transformation. Best 30 years of my life. Jae-sung pulled her close. Here's to 30 more. 30 more, Sienna agreed, kissing him as the sun set over the city they'd spent 3 decades transforming. And whatever comes after that. Because some love stories don't have neat endings. They just keep going, deepening, expanding, touching more lives with each passing year. The waitress who spoke up in a crisis, the crime boss who chose redemption, the love that built an empire of good from the ashes of violence. Sometimes fixing someone's problem in seconds leads to a lifetime of impact. Sometimes helping a stranger becomes the most important thing you'll ever do. Sometimes love doesn't look like you expected. It looks like courage and choice, and 2 people deciding every single day to build something extraordinary together. That's what Sienna and Jae-sung proved. That transformation is possible. That love can survive anything. That one person, one moment, one choice to help instead of walking away can change everything. And 30 years after that first night in the Golden Phoenix's private dining room, their legacy continued. In the businesses they built, the lives they touched, the children they raised, and the love that had started with a $100 million problem and a brilliant woman who knew how to solve it. The end of one story, the beginning of countless others. Because that's what happens when you choose courage over fear, love over duty, transformation over stagnation. You change the world, one choice at a time.